Never wrestle with pigs. You get dirty. And besides, the pig likes it. George Bernard Shaw. Throughout our lives, we are destined to meet a huge variety of people. Some of these will develop into lifelong friendships, and others into even more. It's one of the greatest gifts about being a human, is that we get to meet all these different people and build all these amazing relationships. And whilst hopefully the majority of people you meet will be pleasant, there will be a small minority who are not. Maybe even toxic. Toxic sounds like a harsh word to describe a person, but rather think of it as how they affect you. A toxic person will poison you with their own personal brand of nastiness. Now, depending on your situation and the relationship in question, this can manifest in a lot of different ways. But generally speaking, what toxic people do is they change the way you feel about yourself. They can fill you with self-doubt, confusion, anger. They literally poison your mind, making you feel like you're not good enough, that your opinion doesn't matter, even going as far as making you hate the person that you are. Now, of course, sometimes it's not this extreme. Sometimes they just conjure up bad feelings in you, and they do this to you on a regular basis. A lot of the time, it doesn't even mean that they are a bad person. It means that you're probably a clash of personalities or a clash of values, and they rub you up the wrong way. Now, there's nothing wrong with a little healthy debate. It's important to see the world from as many different perspectives as possible. This is how we grow. However, if every interaction you have with said person leaves a bad taste in your mouth, leaves you not feeling very good about yourself, then they're probably toxic. To you at least. The remedy for people like this is very simple in principle, but quite difficult in execution. There are 3 basic stages that you can progress through that hopefully will bring you to some form of resolution. The first is to ignore. Like I said, simple. Live and let live. Sometimes the best thing you can do is to simply ignore people. Let them live their lives, let them be miserable, and don't allow it to affect you personally. This stage is best used on people who are outside of your inner circle, who don't really matter to you that much. This might be the angry person in the shop in the queue in front of you, that driver that just cut you up on the motorway, or the angry old lady you ran into at the park. Put simply, it's best not to waste your time on people who don't really matter to you in the grand scheme of things. Simply redirect your energy to people who are kind to you, people who show you respect, and who you have a mutual admiration for. Often enough, this approach is enough to let us live happy lives and to attract the kind of people we want to into our world. Remember that you attract the kind of energy that you put out. So if you are being mean, angry, short-sighted, they're the kind of people that are going to want to interact with you. For me at least, that's just not the way I choose to live my life. The second stage is confrontation. There are certain people we meet who we simply cannot ignore. Maybe it's a simple issue of proximity. A work colleague, for example, who you have to interact with on a regular basis, and simply ignoring isn't really an option. And note, I'm not suggesting you confront everyone that rubs you up the wrong way. This is coming from someone who in themselves is not very confrontational. I just don't think this is the way to live a happy life. And when I say confront, what I don't mean is argue. Really, here we're trying to establish some common ground. You're trying to make them aware of what they're doing and how it's affecting you and making you feel. They might not even be aware of it. Let's take an example. You're at a family gathering and cousin John has started swearing in front of the kids. You might say something like this: "John, I'd really appreciate it if you didn't use that kind of language in front of the children. It's not appropriate, and I don't want them learning those kind of words this early in their lives." Pay attention to my choice of language here. I'd appreciate. From the very beginning here, what I'm not doing is making demands of someone. When you make demands of people, they tend to get defensive. They put up their walls and they get very stuck in their ways. It's not appropriate. Again, I'm not telling him to change who he is or change the way he behaves in general. I'm highlighting to him that in this situation, the way he's behaving isn't right. Like I said before, you might be bringing awareness to something that someone hasn't even realized that they're doing. I don't want them learning these kind of words so early in their lives. It's important when you're asking someone for something to let them know why you're asking. Again, just making a demand without a reason behind it is very hard for people to get behind and support. Now, of course, the response to this can go many different ways. They might fully take it on board, apologize to you, apologize to the children, and maybe even have a talk with them about the appropriate language and how this is adult talk and all the rest of it. Great. Of course, people are complicated and life isn't that clean cut, so maybe they just dig their heels in and they carry on behaving this way regardless of what you've said. Which quite simply brings me on to stage 3, which is removal. This is the most simple of the 3 stages, but by far the most difficult to implement. Generally speaking, people are who they are. They are, of course, subject to change, maybe a life-changing experience, maybe education in a certain topic makes them view the world a little differently, but you can't force people to change. So if there's someone in your life who is making you feel bad about who you are, who you don't like the way they treat you, and you've tried to confront them, you've tried to ignore them, none of this has worked, then maybe it's time to simply remove them from your lives. And yes, this extends all the way to close family relatives. I can tell you from personal experience that manifesting the strength to remove toxic people from your world is one of the most powerful tools you have for living a better life. And when I say removal, I mean complete removal. At this stage, you need to start thinking of this person as a cancer. Would you remove only part of a tumor? No. So the same must be done here. Delete their number, block them, remove them from all social media. Go drink at a different coffee shop. Go to a different family gathering. Don't go to the gathering at all. A lot of time, it's our pride that gets in the way. We feel like walking away is almost like accepting defeat. That by not going to the family gathering because John is there swearing is somehow unfair on you. But really what it all comes back down to is your values. It's your personal principles and making sure that you use these as a filter for the people that you introduce into your life. So if people don't mesh with your personal values, you shouldn't be interacting with them. They can have a different opinion. They can view the world differently. That's what makes being human great. But if the deep down principles of the way they live their life clashes with yours, then that's not something you should stand for. So I hope this helps. Ignore those who you can, confront those who you feel it might help with, and at the end of the day, if someone is continuing to hurt you or those around you, you need to remove this person from your life completely. And as always, take care of yourself.